It's day 78 of 118 days with the Tudors, and today we're thinking about 1562. And in this year, Elizabeth I catches smallpox, and everyone thinks she's about to die. So, smallpox, it was very, very deadly. Around 30% of people who caught it would pass away from it, and it was recognisable by to start with feeling very sick and feverish, and then sort of lumps all over the body which would fill with fluid. Elizabeth becomes ill on the 10th of October in 1562. This comes on very suddenly. She's at Hampton Court and she tries to fight through it and carry on working, carry on doing her duties. But by the 15th of October, she has been forced to sort of go away to her rooms and stay there. She tried to use things like warm baths to stop her aching limbs, but it's not worked. By the 15th of October, she's got to go and rest. Now, Elizabeth had already announced that she had no intention of marrying. Nobody really took this seriously. I mean, we know she'd talked about obviously marrying Robert Dudley. We know that's not happening. But beyond that, she said she's not going to marry. No one really took this seriously. So there hasn't really been much chat about an heir. But all of a sudden, her council are in an absolute panic. Her two predecessors, Edward and Mary, lasted 6 years and 5 years. Suddenly they're faced with the possible death of Elizabeth after only a few years on the throne, and they don't know what to do. It's so bad that while she's contained in her room, the Spanish ambassador actually starts to go around telling people that she's going to be dead in a few days' time. And there's the sense of mourning as if it's already happened. So an urgent meeting is called to figure out who is going to take over when, if Elizabeth dies. And the council are really split in their opinion. So I'm going to tell you who they wanted. And then I'd love for you to tell me who you think would have got it and who you think should have got it, because they may be two different people. So first up, there were two different people that the Catholic members of the council were interested in. Firstly, Mary, Queen of Scots. And as we spoke about yesterday, she did have a real claim to the throne. She was Henry VII's granddaughter, after all. She's already ruling Scotland. So some of the Catholics would like her. Some would also like Lady Douglas. Now, she was actually excluded from the succession back in 1544. She is actually Mary, Queen of Scots' aunt, so she's quite a bit older, but she's still in that line up to Henry VII. So she's Margaret Tudor's daughter, so Mary, Queen of Scots' aunt. So the Catholics would like one of those two. Now, lots of the Protestants would actually like Lady Catherine Grey, so Lady Jane Grey's sister. Now, could you imagine how Catherine Grey would have been feeling if she'd caught wind of that after knowing what had happened to her sister? My goodness, you'd be terrified. So some of the Protestants would like her. She's still really in the succession, as it was left by Edward. And then you've got lots and lots of the nobles, including Robert Dudley, a man called Henry Hastings, who is the third Earl of Huntingdon. Now, let me just read out his lineage because it's not straightforward. His great-grandmother was a niece of Edward IV. So he's clearly not as close to the line of succession as any of those other three women, but, being a man, most of the nobles are after him. So, who do you think would have got it if needed? Who do you think deserved it? I think the man would have ended up getting it probably, but anyway, counterfactuals. You've also got Philip in Europe going, wonder if I could get in on here and just nick England back again, because obviously he didn't get much leeway when he was with Mary. He would have liked to have married Elizabeth, but she was having none of that. So he's kind of rubbing his hands together and thinking, wonder if I could take England as well. However, luckily, on the 23rd of October, news is received that she has miraculously recovered, and by the 25th of October she is back at court. Now, there's a real discrepancy on how this affected her appearance, because typically with smallpox it left quite horrendous scarring. Some people have said that she looked absolutely fine. It was miraculous, not a scar on her face, perfect. The Spanish ambassador said actually, you know, she was completely disfigured and you could barely recognise her. It's probably somewhere in between, but the speculation is that the reason that she went sort of full white makeup for a lot of her life, was such heavy with that, was to cover the scarring on her face. So another one there that we're not quite sure about. But for a time, it was really truly believed that the Queen was close to death, and they were trying to figure out who was going to replace her. So yeah, let me know, who do you think should have got it? Who do you think would have got it? So we had Mary Queen of Scots, we had Lady Douglas, Catherine Grey, and this Henry Hastings chap, Earl of Huntingdon. So I will see you tomorrow for 1563. See you then.